walk among ordinary faces, but heaven never calls you ordinary. There is something in your spirit that cannot fully blend in, no matter how hard you try to move quietly. No matter how often you shrink yourself to make other people comfortable. You carry a weight that is not heaviness but presence. You carry a silence that is not weakness but control. And that is why some people feel stirred when you enter a room. Even when you say very little, they cannot explain what they sense around you. Because what rests on your life is not noise, not performance, not borrowed charisma. It is substance. It is the mark of someone shaped for more than survival. A lion does not become less of a lion because sheep fail to recognize it. Power does not disappear just because it is hidden. Calling does not evaporate just because people misread you. This is why your life has often felt lonely in places where everyone else seemed easily understood. You were never designed to be measured by shallow eyes. There is a difference between being overlooked and being unimportant, and you must not confuse the two. Many have overlooked you, but heaven has not. Many have misnamed you, but God has not. Many have tried to place you inside smaller definitions. But what God formed in you keeps pressing against every label that does not fit. What they call intensity is often discernment. What they call distance is often restraint. What they call unusual is often the evidence that you were not built to follow the emotional temperature of the crowd. You notice what others miss. You feel what others dismiss. You sense shifts before they become visible. That is why your path has required endurance. You have had to learn how to carry revelation without immediate recognition. You have had to stand in rooms where people judged your covering while never perceiving your core. The Word of God declares in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 16, verse 7. The Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. That truth is the reason you must not bow to appearances now. The crowd may see a quiet person, a delayed life, an uncelebrated vessel, but God sees the fire, the history, the consecration, and the strength being stored within you. You are not hidden because you are forgotten. You are hidden because timing matters. And when the hour comes, what has been concealed will not need striving to prove itself. Presence will speak. Fruit will speak. Authority will speak. Until then, keep walking with steady steps, because a lion remains a lion even when the field mistakes it for something common. Like this message, share it with someone who needs discernment. Subscribe for what is coming next, and comment 417 if you know God is teaching you to stop measuring yourself by human sight. What has been forging your roar is not comfort, but contradiction. It is the long season of being misunderstood while still being called to love. It is the repeated sting of giving your sincerity to people who only valued convenience. It is the ache of standing in truth while others chose what was easier, louder, and more acceptable. You did not become deep by accident. You became deep because shallow places could not hold the weight of what God was building in you. Every betrayal exposed what could not go with you. Every delay trained your endurance. Every closed door forced your ears to become more sensitive to heaven than to applause. That is why your pain has never been wasted, even when it felt unbearable. What wounded you also uncovered you. What tried to break your confidence revealed where your strength truly came from. You have cried in silence, carried burdens you could not explain, and walked through days where no one knew how much effort it took just to remain steady. Yet even there, something holy was happening. You were being stripped of the need to be validated by people who lacked the vision to recognize your calling. You were being taught that the roar of a lion is not borrowed from a crowd, it rises from identity. It was proclaimed in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Hold on to that with both hands. Fear did visit you, but it was never authorized to own you. Pain did strike you, but it was never given the final word over you. What God placed inside you is still stronger than what came against you. The pressure was real, but so was the preserving hand of God. The enemy may have hoped your wounds would make you retreat from your assignment. Yet all they have done is teach you how to stand with cleaner discernment, deeper wisdom, and fewer illusions. You are not becoming cold, you are becoming clear. And there is a reason messages like this continue to reach you right when your spirit needs strength. Courage is being rebuilt line by line, truth by truth, and every message poured into this space is meant to lift someone who has been fighting unseen battles. If this channel has been feeding your spirit, steadying your faith, and helping you hear God more clearly, you can support that mission through your donation. Because your generosity helps carry this word to more hearts that are desperate for light in dark hours. When recognition delays, purpose does not pause. Heaven never suspends your assignment just because people fail to understand what is unfolding in your life. This is where many chosen ones become weary. You expect that obedience will immediately produce confirmation, that faithfulness will quickly attract the right people, that carrying oil will mean being welcomed by every room. But often the opposite happens. You obey, and still you are questioned. You stay pure, and still you are misread. You keep showing up with integrity, and still your name is left out. Yet none of that means God has stepped back. It means He is teaching you how to walk without leaning on constant applause. There are seasons when your life looks delayed only because the visible reward has not caught up with the invisible work. Roots are growing where no one claps. Character is being tested where no one notices. Strength is being formed where no one congratulates you. The sheep may not recognize the lion, but the lion is still growing muscle, still sharpening instinct, still learning how to move with calm authority. You are not behind. You are under construction in places that human eyes cannot measure. What God is maturing in you must be strong enough to survive the weight of what is coming. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie. Read that deeply. Your promise has a voice, but it speaks at the appointed time. Not at the rushed time, not at the jealous time, not when doubters demand proof. What God spoke over you will not arrive broken just because it arrived slowly. Delay is not denial when God is the keeper of the timeline. In fact, some delays are mercy, some postponements are protection. Some quiet seasons are where your motives are purified so that when elevation comes, you do not worship the platform more than the one who placed you there. So keep moving, keep building, keep praying, keep choosing truth when shortcuts whisper your name. The hidden season is not empty. It is full of sacred preparation. And if this word confirms what your spirit has been carrying, comment, I remain called. Let that simple sentence be your declaration that even in waiting, even in silence, even without recognition, you know God has not canceled what He began in you. Your assignment is still breathing. Your future is still under command. And the same God who kept you steady in obscurity will make your steps firm in the open. What is delayed before people is never delayed before heaven. The hour is being prepared with precision, and when it opens, you will not need to force anything. What is truly yours will recognize your obedience in due time. There comes a moment when you can no longer pretend you are merely like everyone around you. It is not pride. It is not arrogance. It is revelation. It is the breaking point where false humility loses its grip and truth finally stands upright within you. For too long, you may have called your spiritual sensitivity weakness, your separation rejection, your intensity a problem, your inward stirring confusion. But the deeper you walk with God, the harder it becomes to lie to yourself about who you are. You begin to see that what made you feel out of place was also the evidence of distinction. What made you feel isolated was often consecration. What made others misunderstand you was the very thing heaven intended to use. This realization does not always come with noise. Sometimes it arrives in a quiet inner certainty. Sometimes it comes after another betrayal that finally teaches you to stop begging to be understood by people committed to seeing you through small eyes. Sometimes it rises after a long night of prayer when your spirit becomes stronger than your doubt. And once that shift happens, you cannot fully return to the version of yourself that kept apologizing for the weight of your calling. You begin to walk differently. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because your inner agreement changes. You stop asking whether you are marked and start asking how to steward what God has marked. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." That is the dividing line. The moment you truly recognize who you are, you become less controlled by every competing voice around you. The opinions of people lose some of their power. The pressure to fit in weakens. The fear of missing out fades when compared with the greater fear of stepping outside the voice of God. Recognition of identity is not just about confidence. It is about alignment. It is about knowing whose voice formed you, whose hand preserved you, and whose direction will carry you forward. A lion hidden among sheep suffers most when it forgets its nature. But once it knows, even silence becomes strength. This is why the awakening of identity often feels both glorious and costly. Glorious, because confusion begins to break. Costly, because you can no longer live carelessly once truth has found you. You become responsible for what you now see. You must guard your ear. You must protect your oil. You must refuse the temptation to shrink again just because others are more comfortable with your smaller version. The revelation of who you are is not given to inflate your ego, but to anchor your obedience. And from this point on, you understand that your difference is not a flaw to hide. It is a calling to carry with humility, clarity, and holy conviction. Now you walk differently, even while others still sleep. Not everyone around you can recognize what is changing in you, because awakening is rarely obvious to those committed to spiritual dullness. Some are still chasing noise, still calling compromise wisdom, still mistaking distraction for peace. But you can no longer live at that level. Something in you has become too alert to return to old patterns. You have seen too much, survived too much, and heard too much from God to keep pretending that your life is ordinary. The lion is no longer merely hidden. The lion is conscious, and once that awareness settles into your spirit, your steps carry a new gravity. This does not mean you become loud. It means you become anchored. You stop arguing with people who are determined to misunderstand you. You stop explaining your obedience to those who have made comfort their religion. You stop shrinking to preserve access to rooms that were never sent to nourish you. There is a holy boldness rising in you now, not the kind that performs for attention, but the kind that stands firm when pressure comes. This is the boldness of a soul that has been tested, purified, and taught by God in secret places. You are no longer begging the sleeping to validate what heaven already confirmed. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature waits for the manifestation of the sons of God. That means creation itself waits for revealed identity. There are places assigned to your obedience. There are people who need the courage your life will model. There are atmospheres that will shift because you finally stop hiding what God has formed in you. Your walk matters, your discipline matters, your yes matters. This is not the hour to go half awake through your calling. This is the hour to move with clarity, to guard your inner life, and to refuse the lullaby of a world that tries to keep chosen people spiritually asleep. So walk boldly, even if some still see only an ordinary face. Speak carefully, but do not silence your conviction. Love deeply, but do not surrender discernment. Stay humble, but never confuse humility with self-erasure. You are not called to impress the crowd. You are called to carry the evidence of God with steadiness, and when the time comes, those who could not see before will suddenly realize that strength was walking among them all along. Until then, keep your spirit awake, your heart clean, and your steps aligned. The lion does not need permission from sleeping sheep to remain what it was created to be. Comment 643 as your sign that you are ready to walk fully awake in what God placed inside you. As this message settles into your spirit, do not let it fall like rain on closed ground. Let it become a river that keeps moving beyond this moment. If these words have felt like fire in a cold place, then like this message as one would place a lamp in the window, a quiet sign that light still lives here. Share it like passing a cup of water through a desert, so another weary soul may drink before nightfall. Comment beneath it like leaving a stone on an altar, a tender witness that your heart stood before God here. Subscribe like keeping the gate of a sacred garden open, so when heaven sends the next breeze, your spirit will feel it. And if you feel gently led to donate, let it be like pouring oil into a vessel that keeps burning through the dark, so this voice may continue reaching those still searching for dawn.